G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. We are here on Forts of all maps to watch two Conqueror 3 players take each other on in this ranked ladder battle. Sporting in on the south side of the map in the colour teal, playing as the Byzantines, we've got Crackety here. And on the north side of the map in the colour pink, playing as the Abbasid dynasty, we've got Ayyubids. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Forts. It is a pleasure to have your company. Today, we have got ourselves an absolutely wonderful matchup. The Byzantines, a brand new civilization, a headline new civilization for this expansion pack. And of course, we've got on the other side, the Ayyubids, rather the Abbasids. We've casted a lot of Ayyubid games recently, so naturally, it just comes to mind. Now, one of the good things about casting the Abbasid versus the Ayyubid is we don't have to worry about their age up showing. It will show. So that's always really nice as well. But let's take a little bit of a look at this. An interesting scouting pattern coming out from both of these players. Some decent sheep numbers for both of them as well. But what's interesting is they've both crossed over onto each other's sides of the map. And they're now looking to scout out what's closest to their opponent, trying to deny their food away. So a pretty smart move here from both of these guys. Definitely the right call, especially when you spot your opponent's scout like they did early. They both crossed over, and so naturally doing this is the right call rather than trying to match your opponent or be defensive. This is definitely the right play, and it looks like so far Ayyubids with a slight advantage on that sheep number. We'll check in with him and see how he's doing as he's coming around the back of the base the exact same way. Look at this, almost identical at this stage where their positioning is. So both of them looking to pull the same thing off. 8 sheep behind Ayyubids compared to 5 behind Crackety here. So not a huge amount of difference there, but definitely noticeable. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about landmarks. Now, this map in particular is known for its lack of space in the base. And this is going to be a bit of a hard spawn because you don't have a cross map spawn. This is I don't even know how you'd call this. It's pretty much a close spawn. It can be worse than this. I've played like in the corner to the corner, which is probably the hardest way to play compared to like a cross map spawn where you just, where you're fighting it across the map. But overall, I think the big question for Crackety is where is he going to be looking to place his landmarks here, because he can go for a grand winery, but he doesn't have a lot of space. You can opt for it on this side, but I think going right next to the town center is the right play, which he does, so that's a smart call, and he's actually got plenty of space here. He's only going to be missing out on 2 farms, maybe 3 farms, somewhere around that, maybe the 4th one, I mean, technically, but I think this is absolutely fine. So this is really good that he's left this space in the front of the base, because often you could forget to do that. Sheep numbers are continuing to climb. 14 sheep compared to 8 for Crackety. So you can see the difference between these two has become quite significant now. It's important to remember that with this, there's a huge difference in food. So 14 sheep, you're talking about 3,500 food. Compare that to 8 sheep and you're talking about 2,000 food. So that means that Ayyubids going to be able to spend longer in his base. Means it's going to mean that his transition to farms is going to be later. So it's a really nice way for him to just boost that economy up a little bit in the late feudal, early castle age. Now, another question to note is which wing are we going to see out of Ayyubids, and it looks like it's going to be the eco wing. Normally what we see is the military wing, but if we take a look from the perspective of Crackety, where would he even start attacking? Towards the front, I mean, you could try and put on some pressure here, but Crackety's mobile, and he's got plenty of sheep, so that's not going to work. Stone, yeah, it's in the back of the base, though. Gold, I guess maybe, but even then, you don't really need gold as the Byzantines. There's not much that you can really do going for the military wing here, other than maybe deny, like, a second town center. That could be an option for you. But even then, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You can just go for the eco wing yourself, and then that way you move into Fertile Crescent, which just gives you a huge advantage when it comes to things like your farm transition. So I think this makes a lot of sense to be moving into. So well played by Ayyubids. I think the big question on my mind is how many TCs are we actually going to see out from these guys? Because I think the most common thing you'll see out of Abbasid Dynasty is 2 TCs into a fast castle, and then a 3rd TC a little bit later in the game. And nice little time. Oh my god, look at the timing here from Crackety. Did you see that? 4 minutes and 39 seconds that TC was down. That is so fast. You can actually get faster with the Ayyubids when you go for their early wood. But I don't think it's really worth it going for the early wood and getting that TC down. That's like a 4-minute time or something like that. It's pretty early in the game. But really nice use here by Crackety of that extra stone that comes through from the Grand Winery. So it's 32 stone that came in by completing the Grand Winery, and he's used that stone now to get the TC up, and it comes up at 5 minutes and 14 seconds. So not a bad timing right there, and he is already on the way towards that beginning that second TC. And noticing that he's rallying out to stone, it could be to go into additional systems, or it could be to go into a third TC. We'll ride on board with his scout and see exactly what he knows. So he knows the mining camp is here. He knows how much stone has been taken off the mining camp, and he can calculate, okay, that's enough for one TC. So now the question is, does he look to add in a third TC? Which, if he does, I think that's the right play. The one thing to note, though, the Abbasid are very difficult to deal with in that fast castle position, because what they can do is they can come out of the gates in the castle age with gulams together with crossbows, and it can be very difficult to deal with. They can get quite a number on you. But I think the great thing about going into the 3 TCs is that as long as the game goes late, you should be fine, because your economy is going to be absolutely booming. So we'll check in with him, and there's plenty of vills on stone down here, starting to gather it all up. He could technically throw down that second cistern now if he wanted to go for it. Another thing to note is he hasn't done a whole lot of scouting over towards this left side of the map. Doesn't really know exactly what is happening over there, so naturally doesn't really know where to expand. And you do want to be expanding towards the resources, but if you don't know where they are, that could be troublesome. But speaking of trouble right here, it looks like the scout will get away on 17 health, so we'll live to see another day. Meanwhile, it looks like Crackety will be making his way towards this top side. We'll ride on board with Ayyubids just for a little bit. You can see it's a similar story over on his side of the map as his scout makes his way back, but essentially there are huge parts of the map that are undiscovered. He spotted out the boar. I don't think he's spotted out the deer just yet, but he knows where the good stuff is. He knows where the berries are. Have a look at that. There are plenty of berries out over here. This is such a good little expansion spot that he's managed to get over here. Outpost up on the gold. Fast castle going to be coming through. Looks like a couple of eco upgrades in the meantime as well. Definitely the right call whenever you're playing 2 TCs. Remember that the eco upgrades are really important because you've got more villagers that it's going to be affecting. So naturally, you want to do that. If you've got 1 villager and you get the wheelbarrow upgrade, that's 1 villager that's got wheelbarrow. If you've got 100 villagers that get the wheelbarrow upgrade, then that's 100 villagers that are going to be improving that very slight amount. So that's always a good way to think about it. The more villagers, the better upgrades are. Anyway, Crackety is going to be going for that third TC. In my mind, this isn't too much of a surprise. I did somewhat suspect this. The main thing he needs to be careful of here is that timing from the Ayyubids, or rather from the Abbasid, sorry. From the Abbasid dynasty, of course, one of the keys here is the fact that they can make siege out on the field, and not just your standard battering ram and siege tower, but rather they can get the full shebang. They can get the mangonel, they can get the springald out here, so they can look to potentially front load a lot of that, get the gulams, get the crossbows out, maybe throw a ram or 2 down, and then get the mango behind it. And they can be very difficult to deal with. I'm curious to see what kind of unit composition Crackety's going to be looking to move into. Most commonly, we've seen javelin throwers together with Lametanai. I don't know if that's really going to make sense here, but we'll have to see exactly which way he looks to go for it. Olive oil numbers are starting to build as well, but he is nowhere near an age up at this time. Meanwhile, military wing now coming through for his opponent, so we've got quite a difference when it comes to the timings on these age ups. Now, Crackety's also going to be adding in additional cisterns. We can see he's got that second cistern coming through, and depending on how many vills he's got on stone, which is quite a bit, this is going to take a little bit of time to actually get going. But on top of that, it's also going to mean, oh gosh, look at this, he's going eco upgrades as well. This is going to be late. Oh, I don't know about this, Crackety. Yeah, I'd probably even change that spot. I'd go like over here or something, Crackety, because that's a farm position, right? And olive groves are yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm one of those min-maxing type of guys, so it just makes sense to try and keep it away. But I guess he's got it nice and square here. So we'll see how it goes. We'll check in on the other side of the map, though. We'll see how Ayyubids is going to be doing. Military wing coming through. Access to a couple of upgrades here. Most notably that composite bows. So he could be looking to move into mass archers. That is one of the things that the Abbasid players will do. A whole bunch of archers. But normally you see that start to build in the feudal age. The fact that he's going to be in castle age makes me think maybe he won't do it. Maybe he'll just look to, or have a look at these walls coming up. Crackety just walling up everything. And this is a smart move. This is definitely the right call here. He knows that he's going to be behind. The enemy will be aging up very, very soon. And so you go for walls. Why do you go for walls? Well, you don't want your opponent to be breaking through, not breaking through, but like, running through to the back side of your base and killing your villagers. You want to try and stop that from happening. And if there are knights out on the field, they will be able to get through without too much of a hassle. So Crackety doing the right thing so far. Let's check in on the other side of the map. Age Up about to come through. And there we go. It's going to be that Castle Age. Camel Riders popping out there for him. Getting a couple of free Camel Riders. Not too bad. And immediately we see Triple Ghulam now coming into queue. You can see he's got so many barracks. 4 barracks now coming through. No archery ranges just yet. So going to be looking to flood the map with Ghulams. Keep in mind, they do train pretty quick as well. 26 seconds. So be looking for plenty of these bad boys as now makes his way towards the center of the map. Looking to throw down a mill here. Collect a couple of deer. Why not? Why not? Now, on the other side, let's ride on board with Crackety and see how he's doing. What's the plan exactly here for him? Because his villager count is booming. We can say that much. And look at this. It's going to be moving into Keshiks. Actually, no, he switched it out. He said, I was going to do Keshiks. Now I'm going to do Landsknecht. That's a smart move. Don't think this is going to be for the longbows. I think it's going to be for the Landsknecht. So really smart move. One of the things that I would love to see, and this is something that I've started doing quite a bit, and whenever you've got a choke point, so as an example, right, like here's your choke point, which you've walled off. One of the things I like to do is wall it at the forwardmost point, right? So walling it up here. And then that way it gives you a little bit of space. So if this wall comes down, or you can run a villager behind it and then get another wall in. And then you can get another wall in and another. And look at all the space that you've got. Whereas if you wall here, you've only got space, you know, maybe one wall here, maybe one wall here, and maybe another wall. And that's pretty much it. So you don't have as much space behind it. But the same token goes, right? Like here, this gate could have been slightly more forward. And then all of a sudden, this could be your second or your third layer. And that's going to buy you time. Because the reality is, Crackety could look to repair this up and keep it alive, but it's not going to be anywhere near as effective as just building an additional wall. Villagers now coming forward. Ghulam Nub is going to start to build. He's actually going to look to just throw down a battering ram instead. A little bit of a repair coming in on the meantime. Could look for a stone wall here. I don't think that would be terrible, and that would buy him quite a bit of time. Longbow's now going to be coming out, slowly but steadily working it down. No +1 just yet, so it's only going to be 1 damage that they do. And keep in mind, they've not only got that huge health pool as the age up comes through, they've got that huge health pool, but they've also got military, what is it? Is it military campers? No, military drummers? No, boot camp. For that extra little bit of health. So now Crackety's under real pressure here. Keep in mind, Golden Horn Tower down here as well. There's a lot to lose. So Crackety's going to be moving into crossbows, which is definitely the right call. Will Ayyubid look to follow it up with something a little bit different? Ghulams towards that north side. Now going to be looking to put on a bit of pressure out here as well. We'll see exactly how things are doing. Crackety now going to be looking to try and take down the battering ram. Ghulams towards the south could look to throw a gate in, but I think he's just going to get eaten alive over here and able to take out that battering ram. Meanwhile, towards the front, we've still got those Ghulams coming through. We'll just keep an eye on that little bit of an attack down on that south side as the units continue to stream across the map. Ghulam's going to be looking to try and make their way through, and indeed, the longbows now just going to get cleaned up. Meanwhile, more Ghulams running around the top side, and you can see from Ayyubid's perspective, he is just looking to try and flood units from every single angle in here, trying to cause discombobulation in the ranks of the opponent. Maybe pandemonium is probably a better word. Pandemonium as much as he possibly can, but able to clean up those longbows once again. And this one of those things where it's like Landsknecht would have just made so much more sense, because when the Landsknecht come out, they are just going to rip through these Ghulams, as long as they've got something to help them out. But the crossbow numbers are now starting to build. Ghulams also finding another spot. Crackety needs to make sure that he's putting out fires. Really important as this civilization. When you're on the defensive, you want to be putting out fires, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to be doing here. So definitely the right call at this stage of the game. Longbow's going to be retreating back towards those crossbowmen. The numbers here aren't the best. He does have +1 coming through. Veterancy about to arrive as well. But it looks like the crossbows should be able to clean this up. And Crackety, after losing 12 villagers in this attack, manages to keep his head above water, but he has lost that advantage. How could have he possibly delayed the inevitable? I think number one is like he went way too greedy too fast. So if you're going to do 3 TCs, I think that's absolutely fine, but I don't think you can throw the upgrades in as well. I'm pretty sure he did quadruple upgrade. Whereas I feel like going for triple TC and then straight into your age up can make sense. Get your triple upgrades or quadruple upgrades after you've aged up. He also added in the cistern as well, so he played a very greedy style here, and as a result, his villager count has dwindled significantly. So that's going to be a real pain for him. Meanwhile, towards the front, crossbow's now going to start teeing off. Gulams will be forced back. The gate will fall. Villagers going to be coming forward, but it's not going to be able to be repaired in time. Wall has happened down here towards the south. And now we see Tier 2 on the Golden Age being activated. That's going to give access to a little bit faster research speeds. Not too bad. And Ayyubid looking to try and take control on the map. Now, keep in mind, he's still running 2 TCs at the moment. He's done really well to put on the pressure early and force that 12 villager deficit coming out. I don't know if 12 villager deficit is the right term to use it, but the 12 villager loss, that's really going to help him out quite a bit here. Numbers are still looking really good for Ayyubid now. Also beginning to move into an archer mass. So instead of going into crossbows, which is what we most commonly see, he's going to be moving into archers, which I think is the right move because we most often see out of the Byzantines, Lametanite. And Lametanite notoriously good against pretty much everything except for archers. But, I mean, still technically they're quite good against archers. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Krakeny looks to be moving into the Lametanite. But we do start to see it is going to be Lance Connect for him. And now a keep going to be thrown down over on the large gold on the west side. Now, when it comes to gold distribution on this spawn, we've got pretty fair spawns, I'd say. Yeah, a little bit more gold on that south side. That is for sure. Ayyubid's definitely got a favorable position there, but there's plenty of gold here on this north side, right? Like, if Krakeny says, you know, I'll have all the gold up here and you have all the gold down there, it's still not terrible. Longbows, once again, a little bit on the run here. Meanwhile, towards that top side, don't worry, we're paying attention over here. You can see that there's a wall up towards that position, so it's not really going to matter too much. Meanwhile, let's check in and see how it's going. Looks like at this stage, he's gonna be forced back. The archer numbers are pretty significant here. 25 archers on the field now for Ayyubid as he does break down that wall, and Krakeny unfortunately loses the wall over towards the west side, and now crossbow numbers together with Varangian guards looking to push back against this invading Abbasid army. It's got to be careful though with the Varangian guards. Keep in mind they do have slightly lower ranged armor than what they've got melee armor. No +2 through just yet. Battering ram trying to get itself out of here. There's also a Gulam in here. Lanch Connect need to help out. Meanwhile, towards that top side, hold your horses, Drongo. We got ourselves plenty of action as he's running through the base, and you can see he is absolutely scrambling right now for space in this base. He just can't find anything right now when it comes to putting down farms. And this is one of the important things to note. We talked about the sheep earlier and the fact that his opponent is on sheep. Well, take a look at this right now. We've got 2 players. One of them is still on sheep. The other one has done a full transition over onto olive groves. And that just goes to talk about the extent that the sheep can really have an impact on the game the longer that it goes. Defense, solid though, from Krakeny. Manages to keep himself alive, but a lot of resources are being invested into this farming economy. This is kind of insane when you look at it, just how many olive groves are going down right here. We're talking about, he's got 28 olive groves. I feel like it's way more than that. But maybe it's because these ones aren't built just yet, and yeah, that's got to be it. I suspect there's probably a lot more. Can we count them? Let's count them. Yeah, there we go. 40. That's why. So he's got 40 olive groves that are coming up. That's a lot of resources that he's putting in there. Now, keep in mind the return on the olive grove is pretty good. Once you pick up fertilization, Krakeny. Oh, okay. This is a little bit dangerous. Keep on the front. I don't like this a lot. This feels really bad because now Krakeny has to move into siege to deal with this. This is not something that he can allow to stay up. If this stays up, it's going to essentially allow his opponent Ayyubid to go Imperial. So this is something that he needs to be really careful about dealing with. Keep up towards that top side. Still pretty far away from the gold, this one on the bottom though. So not exactly protecting, but outpost now going to be repaired up a little bit. We hear siege, but it's going to be a mangonel that comes out. All sacred sites have now been taken. That means Ayyubid is in a decent spot. He's got 4 relics, by the way, which is pretty crazy when you consider that Krakeny's 5th relic is just sitting down here. It's only just now going to get picked up by the monk, taken back over towards the Grand Winery. He was under a lot of pressure, so naturally, it's one of those things that you forget about. But now, we can really start to see that economy and how much it's booming up towards the front. The Treb's still working down the outpost. Now, one of the other things to note, so with the villagers of Krakeny up to 45 olive groves, let's have a look and see how many of them are actually affected by this extra gather rate. How much are we talking? We're talking about 26%. That's pretty damn decent. So it looks like a fair few of them are missed out over here. And then towards the main base, looks like we've got full coverage on all of these villages. And then we could probably look to throw in a couple more down here as well, because there's decent coverage on this backside as well. But how many trebs is that? Is that 4 trebs now coming out from Ayyubid? I'll be honest, that's a lot of trebuchets. And I don't know why you've got that many trebs. Like, there was not a keep down here that you needed to deal with. You're not really going for landmarks. I'm kind of surprised that there's this many trebs. This is a... 5 trebs? Why do you need this many trebuchets? This feels like a mistake. Triple Springs got to be moving up, though. Able to pick off a villager. Keep in mind, the Triple Springs will be able to one-shot the Mangonels, so needs to be really careful about positioning. And... that should have been a dead Mangonel right there. It wasn't, but it should have been. That looks like it almost will be. He's managing to pull them back. Varangian Guard's going to be moving forward. Trebuchet firing off towards those Springles. Varangian Guard's charging forward. Plenty of archers on the backside. And now Krakeny here says, Drongo, I'm sick of him. I want to get rid of him. And meanwhile, towards that top side, it's going to be the Trebuchets looking to work it down. Meanwhile, Varangian Guard's getting obliterated underneath that keep. The Ghulam's doing an incredible job there. Crossbow numbers are still pretty decent. Mango shots coming in. Big ones on the back. Decent coverage that he's picked up right there. Quite low health on them, and he's managing to get one of them out, looking for the escape. Ranged units up against ranged units here. And now that's going to mean that Krakeny has to fall back because he's only got that keep that he's dealing with, and the keep is just non-stop firing. Look at this. He's just really losing out quite a bit here, but Mangonel comes back in. Damage numbers looking decent. Treb still firing off. We can see not a lot of them are low health, but Krakeny's lost all of the units here. And Ayyubid comes away from the battle looking pretty unscathed by this aggression. Only the single trebuchet that's back here. If Krakeny was the one that had gone into 5 trebs, I would completely understand. But to me, this just feels like a massive waste of resources. But I'm impressed that Ayyubid is still so far ahead despite spending so many resources on trebs. Like that, I think that really speaks to how far ahead he is, where he can afford to go for 5 trebuchets and can still, despite all of that, win that fight. Now, we spoke about farm transitions before. I got news for you guys. We've got some farm transitions that are beginning to come through for both of these players now. Well, let's check in and see exactly how much of it has been covered. It looks like Ayyubid now up to 26 farms. So a decent amount of farms coming online for him. But really, that just speaks to the power of getting those early sheep. And now Krakeny's starting to scramble here. A lot of Springles coming out. But do you guys see the problem here? I don't know if you guys see this. Let me do a little bit of explaining for you. Crossbows. Veteran archers, Springles, trebuchets. You guys see what I'm putting down? They're all counted by 1 unit. They're all counted by the horsemen. So if we can maybe see just like 10 stables thrown down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll take it. I will take it. 5 stables ain't bad. This is good. He spots it. He sees the truth. He sees the reality. He sees, okay, I know what I need to do to take this out. I just move into a lot of horsemen. Does Ayyubid realize that, though? Because there are Ghulams out, and Ghulams do relatively well against the horsemen. Man goes towards the top, chasing around some villagers the Ghulams are looking to try. Swinging wildly, managing to cause havoc, and now more Ghulams chasing away villagers down on the south as well. They are just absolutely everywhere. Let's check in with this army as it slowly makes its way forward. Looks like for the moment, it's just going to be that slow and steady push. Grinding down the landmarks. Keep in mind, the second landmark will be going down. He's got that third one nice and safe down, back in the back of the base. Horseman numbers. Horseman numbers are rising. He's up to 17 in queue. That's how many horsemen he's got in queue. Keep in mind, wait, are there only 3 of these that are building? No, okay, there we go. All 5 are building now. Not a lot. There's no cistern bonus that's on any of these. Not even, yeah, all of these are just being built the good old-fashioned way. Nice little push, though, that's coming in. Here. Krakeny trying his best to push his opponent out of the base. Varangian Guard numbers are pretty high as well. He's got 34 of them. I don't mind Krakeny's position here. The main issue is that he's lost all that farming economy. But now looking to push forward. Varangian Guard, together with the Landsknecht and the Horsemen, everybody on the front line looking to help out here. The Ghulams are doing a wonderful job of just keeping some space between all those ranged units on the back. Meanwhile, the Boiling Oil also going to be in play towards that top side. Still the Ghulam chasing around villagers, just doing its magic thing. Now Crackety, 25 minutes into this game, is starting to lose steam. The military advantage is in favor of Ayyubids 2-1. That is significant. Economy still pretty even at this stage. In fact, we can do a little bit of a comparison and see how they're doing. We're talking about 3.5k for Crackety here compared to his opponent, who is miles ahead. 5.3k. Not to mention Imperial Age is coming through. Maxed out on population. He is living his best life right now. Ayyubids is absolutely booming to hell and high water. Is that? I don't know whether that's it, but anyway, he's booming like a madman. We can say that much. Still, though, Crackety. He's got the 1 TC, the 2nd TC in the back, 3rd TC, still pumping villagers, but he's lost 53 workers this game. Like, Ayyubids has been absolutely relentless with these raids. And Crackety just can't seem to get a leg up. Imperial Age now coming online. Where does he go? And it's straight into elite upgrades. Elite Ghulams, elite crossbows. Really, really smart move. Absolutely love it. And now the Trebs on the front line, just going to be absolutely stabbed apart by those horsemen. Meanwhile, on the back, crossbows looking to tee off. I don't see any Ghulams here. Varangian Guard as well, providing a nice little front, but 2 of the Trebuchets survive. Plenty of springs in the back as well. Where is he pulling all this population from? Like, he's just got so many units together with the siege. Meanwhile, it looks like more villagers are moving up towards the gold. Crackety realizes that gold is really going to become his biggest issue here. Has he scouted out the gold on the south? He's technically scouted this gold on the south, so he could look to move towards it, but neither player is really looking to contest it just yet. Towards that north side, though. Level 3 on that Golden Age bonus has finally come through. 60 structures in total. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Look at the production that is coming through right now. That is absolute insanity. He's connecting it out everywhere. Look at... Wow. Wow. You've really got to admire that amount of production. And that's exactly the right way to play it, especially when you get into the late game like this. So you might be wondering, how do you actually play the late game if you're maxed out on population? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. Number one is, like, you could gather stone and then build keeps, and then that doesn't cost population. But another thing that you can do is you can buffer your units. So if you have a barracks, and in that barracks you train a Ghulam, it will sit there waiting to pop out until you reach 199 population. And when you do, it will then pop out. So we can take that same idea and then apply that to 50 barracks, and now all of a sudden I have 50 Ghulams ready to pop out at a moment's notice. And that's exactly what Ayyubids is doing. He's looking to buffer his military, and every single unit that dies will immediately be replaced by another unit. And the fact that he's now putting these stables down means that he's just going to have a little bit more diversity in it. Wallalol in the back, going to try and hold on a little bit longer. Where's the army from Crackety? Have we got ourselves a little bit of a base race coming through? I think we may potentially. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. We've got ourselves a base race, and wouldn't it be... I'll tell you what, it's nice to have a little bit of split screen over here. Have a look at this. We have got ourselves 2 different screens. We can see exactly what's happening. It's not so much a base race as it is just a... It's nice to keep track of exactly what's happening on both sides of the map. And now we check in on that north side. Sacred site looking to be neutralized. Beginning, is he focusing? He's going for landmarks. Oh, he's actually doing it. We may have ourselves a base race. It's actually happening right now. Now, where is Ayyubids in all of this? Is he going to look to try and focus down the town center? Doesn't look like it. Landmark still uncontested at the moment, but Crackety is really looking to commit to this. He's got Varangian Guard. Keep in mind, the elite upgrades have now come through for Ayyubids. Villagers looking to try and do a bit of repairing. More units going to be rallied in as well. And villagers are just being absolutely pulled apart as Crackety races his way across the map. He's going to be fighting underneath the keep. He's going to be running for dear life, and you can see Ayyubids now going to be stalling out. Crackety looking to bring more and more units to the fore. Villagers starting to run in. Everything is... I think he's got everything. Yeah, everything's gone idle. He's got 2 villagers on gold. That is it. He's 100% committing to this. Villagers making their way around as well. Crackety going for the base race. Oh, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. There's way too many Ghulams here. And that's just going to be it. Ladies and gentlemen, Crackety here. Unfortunately going to be tapping out against Ayyubid, but I'll leave links in the description of where you can go and watch him live. I don't think Ayyubid's got a stream, but if he does, I'll have a look for it. Maybe I'll link it. We'll see how we go. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. And the power of the Abbasid in the late game is impressive, to say the least.